So today I want to talk about self-reflection, noise, and listening. If you're someone who's followed this channel up to this point, you're probably aware of the fact that until a few days ago, I was producing daily content and videos. Every single day I had a brand new video out. And I stopped a few days ago because I needed some time to self-reflect and ask myself some key important questions about where I was in terms of my content. And so I wanted to share today some of that story and explain what's been going on, as well as share the importance of self reflection and talk about filtering noise and the importance of listening. So, when I was producing the daily videos, I started reaching a point where I just felt like I needed to ask some key questions. And so I stopped and took the time to do that. These questions took the form of things like, is this working for me? Is this the kind of content I want to be producing? Am I enjoying making content anymore, or has it just become a task that's become laborious and something that I don't enjoy? Is the type of content I'm producing good, and is it something worth making more of, or should I change things up? How is this affecting my mental health? How is it affecting my daily life? How is it affecting my relationships? These were the type of questions that I felt like I needed to spend some time thinking on and considering before moving forward. And I hope that you'll all be happy to hear that for the most part, everything came out in the affirmative and nothing really changed. I do think that this is working for me. I do like the type of content I've been producing. I do enjoy what I'm making, and I want to make more of it. There was probably a little bit of mental health fatigue that I needed to take a break for. And, this gave me an opportunity to take that break. I'm someone who advocates self-care, and sometimes taking a break can be really helpful at producing new content and going forward, no matter what you're doing in your life. Breaks are important and are valid, and something that we should all take from time to time. And so, even though I came to the exact same conclusions that I started with, I think it was a worthwhile endeavor to take that time to analyze where I was, because now I can be even more sure moving forward of the fact that I'm happy with the things I'm producing. That's one less question off my head and one more thing that I can be sure of moving forward. And I think this type of self-reflection, of asking questions like this, is an important skill for everyone to have, and something that people should apply to their daily lives, at least maybe more often than they do, if they have the opportunity. I feel like there's this very pervasive belief and mindset that we should constantly be reacting to everything that we experience in our daily lives, that we should constantly have an opinion, that we should constantly press forward on things. This idea that under capitalism, we need to be productive, do the next thing, have a constant drive, and there's this pressure to keep moving us forward. But I think it's important to take that time to step back and to take the time to ask key important questions. And one of those questions should be, are we okay with where we are? And I think a lot of this falls into like the sunk cost fallacy, which, if you're not familiar with, is this general idea that if you've invested so much time into something that you should just keep doing it. That if you have put so much time and energy and value into something, that you should just keep doing it without questioning it. And I'm here to say, question it. Take that time, step back and reflect. And sometimes by looking backwards, we can be more productive moving forwards. And so, I believe that as someone who very much values self-reflection and just took the time to do it, that there is merit in asking about the things in your life and whether or not things are working for you. Things maybe like certain friendships or relationships or the people in your life, and asking, is this working for me? Are these people that I want in my life, do they make my life better still? Or is this something that I need to reevaluate? And even when it comes to negotiating one's position of oppression under capitalism, like maybe with a job or, a certain housing situation, I think it's okay to reflect and say, Is there a way that I could make my situation a little bit better? Is there a way that I could negotiate my oppression in a different way to produce more happiness for myself? What is the outcome that will produce the maximum happiness for myself? When you're living life, you have to try to maximize your happiness. This is, as far as we know, the only life that we have. And in that, we should be seeking the ways to maximize our happiness. And even if we reflect on it and we come to the conclusion that this is the best case scenario for ourselves right now, at least then we can move forward assured that we are in the best place possible. And try to seek goals and alternatives that reach elsewhere. And we can kind of try to filter out some of the perspectives that tell us that we should be happy with the complacency of what we're in while we still strive for better things. And this is what I like to define as noise. You know, there's a lot of different perspectives out there that can be very overstimulating. And they can try to, in these opinions and perspectives, hit us when we're most vulnerable, when we're at the point of needing self-reflection and care the most. And these type of bad faith arguments can be really detrimental and can really hurt people. You know, they can be harmful and reductive as we try to filter things out. And it doesn't have to just be opinions and perspectives. Sometimes it's the things that we get stuck on in our daily lives. Sometimes it's the things that we lose ourselves in and we get caught up on when we really need to just filter through them and get past it so we can move on with where we're at. And that's part of reflecting. That's part of reflecting and trying to figure out what type of noise is hurting us and harming us and reducing us when we try to move forward and try to find our path moving into a better direction for ourselves. And so, for an example, when I was looking up this particular video, and I was trying to get some different perspectives and, get some different ways of analyzing self-care in this particular form of self-reflection, one of the things that I was finding very consistently was this idea that we should self-reflect in a way that benefits the goals of capitalism, that we should accept our suffering now and accept that we will get joy in some distant future. And a lot of it really came down to accept your place now without complaining. Deny yourself the ability to complain. And I would say that this type of position and argument is actually hurtful and reduces us to stay complacent within our system of oppression. If you are someone who is stuck in, a bad job or a rough situation of housing or any other number of forms of oppression that occur under capitalism, you should have the space to complain about it. You should have the space and the platform to be able to say, this sucks. This is not where I want to be. And we can do better as a society. And so even within the idea of self-reflection, there's a lot of noise out there when you try to look stuff up that says just be happy with where you are and complacent. And that's not the kind of self-reflection I think is valid or important. We should be able to say, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to be going, and maybe I don't know how to get there, but I can certainly complain about the fact that this isn't good enough. And so I don't want it to be mistaken that that kind of false capitalistic propaganda is the type of self-reflection that I'm talking about, because that is, from my perspective, noise. And the type of noise that I often experienced coming across video or trying to make videos and trying to make content was the amount of right-wing propaganda that I would come across, trying to filter through things and just trying to figure out ways to analyze that and talk about that in a way that was actually something I could present as an argument. And I think a lot of content creators kind of go through something similar with this, or at least I imagine that they do, where there's sometimes you look at a headline or look at an argument in an article or a perspective, and sometimes what you see there is just this something that's so wrong, something that's so bizarre that you can't even come up with an argument against it. Where it's like, this is either something you see as wrong or you don't. And it doesn't really add up. It just sits there. And for me personally, that was the type of position and perspective that would really hit me hard, where it's like, I don't even know how to argue against this because I just want to sit there staring at the screen and go, well, obviously this is wrong. Obviously this is something not worth, analyzing, because if you agree with this perspective, if you agree with this, you're probably part of the problem. And so it's like, it's not even a perspective that one can argue because there's just so much wrong with it. And so for me, a lot of those perspectives would sit there and they'd ruminate in my brain, and I'd try to figure out, well, how can I argue against this? And I think that's the type of noise that I had to separate myself and filter from, because there's only so much that we're capable of reasonably arguing against on a daily basis. There's only certain perspectives that we can provide proof and evidence against, because at some point, when the opposing perspective that one is trying to analyze doesn't have reason and isn't coming at things in good faith, you can't really argue against it, because reason has left. Reason has left the position and the argument. And that's something that I think I need to negotiate better, and something that I am reflecting on a little bit more as I'm moving forward. How to not get bogged down from these perspectives that where I just look at it and I'm like, but how? And so it's filtering that out, while also taking in a lot of new information and a lot of new perspectives and things that are valid and important, and introducing those into one's fold. And so that's where I think the flip side of the noise is listening. It's finding ways to listen to new perspectives. And I can't emphasize enough how important listening really is. When someone actually comes at you in good faith and wants to talk with you and share a new perspective, maybe a valid criticism or a different idea and a different viewpoint into looking at the world, listening and being vulnerable and open can be so important. And reflecting on that is a key component of developing new perspectives and growing. Even if you are having the most intense argument and debate with another person, it's possible to meet them and listen to their perspective and treat it with validity. And hopefully that can highlight something new and worthwhile. And oftentimes you can both be right about something and both be analyzing it from very different perspectives. And in doing so and in listening to each other, you can come to a place where, by reflecting on both sides, you both learn something new and you can synthesize something and call both perspectives into conversation and create a further unified perspective and theory going forward. And I think that just because you're not the one speaking, that doesn't mean that you're not engaging. One of the things that I think is underrepresented is how much learning and listening is an important part of growth. And one of the things that I was reflecting on as well is the fact that I stopped having as much time to read when I was making my content. I stopped taking as much time to synthesize my own lived experience with theory and books and everything like that. I was just caught up in making content. And so that's something that I want to work on and change and get back into reading more theory and books and other people's perspectives. I want to synthesize new ideas from reading, from watching videos, other people's podcasts, and use that as a tool in self-reflection to synthesize new perspectives and arguments. And I think that doing that can increase someone's span of knowledge and change perspectives and solidify even your perspectives going forward. It can be this duality where it introduces new ideas but also solidifies your positions and helps you going forward. I think a lot of times there's this understanding that we're supposed to already know a lot of things, that we're supposed to know how to respond, have the answers available to us, and know how to be and be the end all of these things. But oftentimes we don't. Oftentimes there's plenty of room to grow, and there will probably be room to grow for the rest of our lives. And so sometimes the greatest thing we can do is listen. Especially listen to our fellow leftists And I'd even argue that sometimes people outside of the left can give us key information and details if we listen to it in the right way and filter out a lot of the noise behind it. And hearing those perspectives will help us grow and learn. And we need to, I think, on the left especially, listen to and learn from perspectives of people who are generally pushed to the side in our current system and society. First and foremost, we need to be valuing those perspectives that don't have a voice a lot of times. And when we do, and they share their experiences and they share their heart with us, we need to be ready to listen and to learn from that. And if we're going to be better leftists and better anarchists, we need to have time to self-reflect and to take the time to listen to all of the perspectives that are presented to us and try to filter out the noise. And in listening to these very different perspectives, synthesize something new and something to push forward so that we can create a better praxis, a better existence, and a better situation for ourselves in the long run. So with that said, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and bell for notifications. You can follow me on Twitter, check out my Discord in the description down below. My name is Anarchist Tara, and I hope you enjoyed watching.